Order number 17, the National Government Co-ordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2023, second reading.
Mover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I arise to move that the National Government Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2023, be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, the main point with this amendment is, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that village elders and the village units that these village elders represent are recognized legally in the National Government Coordination Act. Mr. Speaker, why I'm moving this amendment is because these particular village elders have continued to perform important functions in this country. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, for these functions, for the work they perform in this country, they don't receive any pay, any allowance. Unlike other officers who work for the government, even for work that is not as crucial, critical as these village elders. Mr. Speaker, the current act, the National Government Coordination Act, only recognizes the national government coordination officers up to the rank of Assistant Chief.
Honorable Malulu Injendi, I'm being reminded that you are debating the motion before moving it in the manner the House requires them to be moved. So would you just have a repeat and say, I beg to move that this particular bill whose details you give be read a second time. You know how we do it before you proceed to debate, so that it can be properly captured by the answered. I know you are doing the right thing and you are proceeding well, but for purposes of procedure and for good capturing, kindly do move again.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the National Government Coordination Amendment Bill of National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2023 be read a second time. I thought I said that.
Having moved, you can now proceed and say, or tell the House what the bill is about in the manner you are doing before.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, actually I said that. I moved actually in that manner, in that format. So, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, why I'm moving this amendment, I said earlier, I just repeat because it seems like it was not recorded, is to have village elders recognized by the National Government Coordination Act. Themselves and the village areas they represent. Mr. Speaker, why I'm doing this is because these particular persons, village elders, perform critical functions in this country, but it appears that no one is recognizing this through some pay, some appreciation through an allowance. Mr. Speaker, this act, National Government Coordination Act, recognizes these coordination officers up to the rank of assistant chiefs. That is regional commissioner, county commissioner, deputy county commissioner, chief, and assistant chiefs. Mr. Speaker, for the chief to perform effectively, for the assistant chief to perform effectively, he relies mostly on these village elders, Mr. Speaker. The role of village elders, I may not enumerate actually the functions in the community, but for the purpose of my amendment, members just to know that village elders are the persons who really provide intelligence in this country to the national security. The village elders, Mr. Speaker, you see, they handle most of the domestic issues, matters that societies normally have or families normally have. All land issues, these are the people who tackle them. When it comes even, Mr. Speaker, identification of criminals in our society, in our community, these are the actual persons who identify, and therefore you can see the kind of risk these people expose themselves to, and no one actually has bothered, right from 1963, to kind of appreciate their work through some any form of payment. Mr. Speaker, it's very interesting that these are persons who are performing this kind of role I'm mentioning, and no one in this country has ever thought of actually considering them for payment. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, these are persons who have been in operation from 1963 up to this particular point, and no one is paying them, no one is giving them any attention to what they are going through. And these are the persons who are leading the poorest life in this country. When you see some of them who are called, they're leaders actually in their own right. But the kind of life they lead is so demoralizing, is so degrading, that they are performing such a functions for national government and no one is recognizing this. But Mr. Speaker, strangely, the county governments, in their County Government Act of 2012, you see, they had also a similar structure up to the village level. And Mr. Speaker, the county governments, most of them, in the year of 2016 to 2021, managed to operationalize all the functions, all the structures as envisaged in the in the County Government Act of 2012, up to the village level. Mr. Speaker, county governments are actually paying those particular village elders in the county government format, and yet the village elders who have been there all along, up to now, no one is considering them. And Mr. Speaker, when you look at even the functions, the roles of the village elder, the equivalent in the county government, the kind of work they do and they're paid for, cannot be compared to what the village elders actually perform. Theirs is only to ensure they are oversighting county government development in the rural areas, in their villages. And whereas, as I mentioned earlier, you can see the kind of work the village elders of the national government actually perform. So, Mr. Speaker, I thought the only way we can actually appreciate these particular persons is to have a legislation like the one I'm now proposing, so that these people can be anchored in law and therefore can be considered for some kind of remuneration. Mr. Speaker, some of us, because we know the kind of economic times we are going through, they may think that if we have to consider some remuneration for these particular persons or allowance, it will be a lot of money